The fast food giant hopes the service appeals to parents trying to juggle kids and food while inside the restaurant. Definitely a difficult thing to juggle. All right, do you have a to-do list you really need to get to this year? Well, scratch it and instead make an already done list. I know what you're saying. Why and what is that? Well, Wendy Capland is author of Your Next Bold Move. She's here to explain. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So what do you mean by bold? Like, when you say bold, this can be something that women, anyone can wrestle with it, but what do you mean by that?
Bold is having the courage, the guts, the chutzpah to do what you really want, to meet the dreams that you have, and to start taking steps towards them. For some people, being bold can be a really tiny baby step, and for others it could be leaping off into doing something really huge.
What do you think scares us? Is it a risk that we're fearful of?
I don't know. For myself, I was telling you a few moments ago before we went on camera that years ago I had a local cable television show, and that seemed daunting to me. But my first baby step was to go and observe somebody else being interviewed on that cable show, and I thought, gosh, I could do that. That looks so easy. That's really a piece of cake. So I think what stops us is always ourselves.
Definitely.
For women, we talk about, we often hear about the glass ceiling. Actually, it's not that I disagree that there's a glass ceiling, but I think it's more about the sticky floor and the what we do to ourselves in our sneakers to hold ourselves back, not what other people do to us.
Good lesson for us all to kind of check ourselves and see if we've learned that. Let's talk about the already done list. What is that? Is that going through things that we've done in our life? Check that off, check that off? Okay.
So let me give you an example of how it works. So last week I worked with an executive in one of our big corporate clients, and I was coaching him. And we started, before we set his goals for this year, we stopped and we said, let's look back at last year and let's make a list of all the things you've already done. So you can see patterns, you can see where you were successful, and it can inform what you might do for next year. So you don't want to throw out your to-do list, but you want to start with a list of prides and accomplishments.
And so see progress you've made, focus on the positive, see where your efforts pay off. Now, what about when you start finding things that you fall short on? Is that what goes on the to-do list?
It could. So after you do your prides and accomplishments, the second step that you do, and we do this in our Vision to Success workshop that we do once a year, where we start with the success and accomplishments, and then what we talk about is your shortfalls and your disappointments and your gaps. What happened last year that was disappointing to you? And what do you want to do? Do you care? Because maybe where you fell short, you now no longer care.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and maybe you still do. So I have a client last week who did his shortfall list, and he said, I did really well with exercise at the gym, but I didn't lose the weight I wanted to. And I'm going to put that on my goal list for this year.
So it's something you could do not just in business or work, but just in life.
Oh, for sure.
Take an inventory and apply these strategies to whatever it is that you want to perhaps be better at in the future.
Yeah, so my husband and I, every year between Christmas and New Year's, we do an exercise where there's 3 questions we ask ourselves. What happened last year we were proud of? What were we disappointed about? And what things do we want for ourselves for this year? And we do it separately, and then we sit down and we share our list.
I love that.
It's really great.
What a great takeaway for our viewers.
It's great.
This is really interesting. Thank you so much. Again, the book is Your Next Bold Move. Really appreciate you coming in, Wendy.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's check back in with Kate Rayner. She's standing by the live desk. What are you following, Kate?
Carrie Lee, we are keeping a close eye on these images coming in from Florida. Cars tossed and flipped. Buildings destroyed. It's a mess in South Florida. Was this the work of a tornado? The latest information coming up next.